Wanna play? Careful what you ask for.
Hello and welcome to our first wrap-up from the Valcast Bronze Bash tournament. This tournament is an 8-player tournament. This is the November Valcast tournament, so in November I decided to do an 8-player 1v1 tournament, and this match is in round 1 between JTrain and birdfood. This is match 1. I'm not going to show you everything, I'm just going to show you the mere highlights. And let me talk about the map that they first played on. This is Delta Quadrant. You have a very easy to take expansion. All you need to do is take down the destructible debris. The only problem is it is very susceptible to drops, to colossi even. You can just walk around up here and walk in, I believe. I'm not sure. I could be wrong there. This cliff might be too steep for a colossus to get down. But each player has one. There are 4 spawn points on this map, so some scouting is required, and that's why birdfood does sound out a probe. Now, what I find interesting is that JTrain will not scout the map at all until he gets an observer out, and that is going to be very detrimental. He does not know what birdfood has. As we move on later in the game, we see birdfood has 2 gateways already building. There is a cybernetics core researching warp gate tech, but warp gate tech is also being researched for birdfood. There are 2 gateways for JTrain and a robotics facility, while there are only 2 gateways here and a 3rd one warping in, because he does like the mass stalker type build, and he does have a proxy pylon. This is basically a staple of all the games I've seen birdfood play. Proxy pylon, you can just continue reinforcing. He can even warp in over here because he does have the vision with the pylon, so he could take over both sides of his opponent's base. And now 7.5 minutes into the game, JTrain has 1 zealot and an immortal for army, and birdfood has all of these stalkers. It was just basically JTrain has all these extra minerals, and his economy still isn't even as good as birdfood's. So it's definitely birdfood, definitely proving here that he is the better macro player. JTrain did have an immortal. It did take out a few stalkers, but that wasn't enough. And I'm just going to tell you right now, this was definitely a GG. Birdfood's not even using his zealot that he has. There's no army here. There's nothing except an observer that finally finds birdfood's base. That's all JTrain has. He has 1 immortal. That's not going to be able to take out an entire army of continually reinforced stalkers. So this is the end of the game. Game 1 taken easily by birdfood. Game 2 included a map of Steps of War, and this one is a great 2-player map, I think. It's one of my favorites. It used to be on the ladder when Starcraft 2 first came out. It's no longer on the ladder. There's an expansion here that you can wall off. It's a wide wall off, but you can do it. And if you do wall that off, you can actually have a 3rd base here and with another wall off there. If you're a really defensive Protoss player against a Zerg, that's what you can do in this area. You can wall off quite a bit. JTrain, however, starts a wall off, cancels it, then restarts it, and he is going to try and build some kind of a wall down here instead of back at his main, because he did realize that last game he was just pummeled by so many units, and he needs to somehow adapt to that type of play. Further on here into the game, we have a proxy pylon for birdfood already near the base. We have a probe just sitting out here, chilling out. We have a zealot getting ready, another probe just chilling out here. And he has 2 gateways and a 3rd one warping in, or actually a robotics facility coming in for birdfood instead of a 3rd gateway like we saw in the first match. Warp gate tech is almost complete. Birdfood does have a lot more impressive, wall off here. He does have 2 cannons for some defense, a good number of pylons to keep these photon cannons powered in case one gets taken out. He's going to place another one, complete a wall off. And if you want to get into the main, you're going to have to go through all this cannon wall, and you're going to have to probably face a lot of trouble. So that is a very good wall off idea, plan here. It is going to probably be quite effective. However, he did scout this out pretty quickly. Birdfood did. He saw the wall off. He said, okay, you know what, I'll just train up a warp prism. So he starts training up a warp prism. There are plenty of units at the front, but he's just going to get a warp prism out, get a 4th gateway. I'm wondering why this is not transformed into a warp gate yet, but he is going to get a 4th gateway with a warp gate, so with a warp prism, so he could bring the warp prism around back, spawn in some units, boom, take out the entire main. Because there is no defense, he still has not produced any units. He is mining from 2 bases. He has a pretty good economy, but he is just not focusing on building units, which was his problem in the first round, and will probably be his problem in this round. And here we see the warp prism being loaded up and moved to the back, probably not wanting to get spotted. Actually, Birdfood has this cell nugget tower covered, not bothering with this cell nugget tower. He's just going to fly right over it, see there's nothing there. That's great for him. Nothing's going to catch that warp prism, and he has absolutely no units. If we look at the units tab, actually, you can see that all JTrain has are 39 probes. And that's just going to kill him because he has no fighting units, while there are 6 stalkers and a zealot, plus this warp prism that's coming up finally right here. It's going to unload those 4 stalkers that had loaded up into it. It's going to drop them right here in the main. There's a can there that, you know, he doesn't want to get caught in that. So he drops out these 4. He's now going to switch over to, what is that actually called? Power mode? I'm not sure what that's called. But he's going to start taking out a pylon. No defenses here in his main. He starts warping a Stargate, but that's not going to do much, especially against mass stalkers. And especially against an economy that's going to die because he has no fighting units. Absolutely none. He did not train a single fighting unit. Now he warped in 2, but you can't just warp in when there's an attack made. You have to have a standing army already. Otherwise, you are going to be taken out. All these stalkers are just going to do such a good job, especially with all these constant reinforcements. Whenever there's a warp gate, for Birdfood that's open, he can just start warping in with 4 more units. With that great 4 gate that works so well, especially if you have great placement of warp prisms and stuff, and good pylon placement. That line of drones is running away, but it's going to be hurt pretty badly. I remember someone commenting on that in the observer chat whenever we were watching this game. And now this expansion is completely oversaturated, and he has so many minerals, but he's not warping in enough units. He only has a gateway, not even producing a unit. He has another gateway, not even producing a unit. He does have warp gate tech, but he hasn't flipped over his gateways to warp gates. There are so many stalkers in the back. He's trying to warp in a bunch of photon cannons. Those are going to be taken out by these many stalkers. He should probably just cancel them before he loses all those minerals. Actually, at this point, though, it's probably not going to matter. He only has 1 pylon powering all 3 of these anyway. So, at this point, it is basically a goner for JTrain. He can just warp in more units from the back, from this warp prism, because he did never take it out. Just this astounding strategy from Birdfood that works every time so far in this tournament. We'll see if it works against myself, Trojan Virus, in the semifinals. So there is a GG about to come up, and this game is complete.